What is up, guys? So I talked about a misfortune build in yesterday's video, but what I didn't tell you is there's actually a third build in Korea with a DUSKBLADE of Drakthar that is ridiculous and crushing solo queue. We're going to go over all three of the builds in this video, but the two Korean ones are really insane, like insane enough to even dick on a Lucian in lane. Finally, maybe we have an answer. I think this might just be a little bit overpowered, like just a tad, okay, but let's jump in and see if you agree. As always, if you want to see a full gameplay of this in action, then throw the video a like and let me know in the comments. And yes, okay, I know I stalk Korea way too much, but when I find builds like this, how could I not want to go and stalk them? So there are three builds, right? The two we talked about in yesterday's video. The first is the standard Essence Reaver into Infinity Edge. This is the crit build, and crit is great on her because of the heavy AD to make the Q hurt more, and the ultimate can actually crit. It just means huge AoE damage. The problem has always been with this build that you have no armor pen. It's not very good against tanks in general. You have to get like some more crit really third with like a rapid fire cannon or a phantom dancer, so Last Whisper is going to be fourth. Second, we have the Korean Lucian build, the Ghostblade and Black Cleaver. This is very armor pen and AD focused, so your abilities are going to be doing more damage. Your Q, your ultimate damage is insane. It ignores a lot of armor and does a ton of damage, especially with your ult. So the juicy one, the third build, this is where it gets interesting. I have no idea why you'd actually ever think to put a DUSKBLADE on an AD carry to start with, but trust the Koreans to try it and make it work. It's kind of like the Korean Lucian build, but with even more ability damage. You have more armor pen, more AD, and your Q and ult will hurt so bad. DUSKBLADE is decent anyway, actually, without the passive. It has a good amount of AD and armor pen, so while we can use the passive and do some decent damage, you don't have to worry about wasting gold on it because you're not. Now we're going to focus on the two Korean versions, so why do they actually work anyway? So Misfortune has four main sources of damage: her passive, her auto attacks, her Q, and her ultimate. Her passive has a good bonus AD scaling, so the AD from Ghostblade, DUSKBLADE, and Black Cleaver are all going to mean you do more damage. The auto attacks actually do a lot of damage with this build because your W attack speed steroid is crazy good. It means we don't actually need to build attack speed as much. We're building loads of AD, we naturally get attack speed with our Ghostblade and our W, so it means basically we attack quickly with a lot of AD and armor pen. Your Q, the double up, has a 100% AD ratio, so more AD makes a really big difference, and armor pen is also going to increase that damage even more. The ultimate is the big one. It's almost instant full Black Cleaver stacks to everyone hit by it. It has a 75% AD ratio, so the more AD is doing more damage, and we have good armor pen, which increases it as well. Now the really big deal is the armor penetration, okay? 30% to all sources, not just you. To put it in a really simple way, your team will be doing basically 30% more physical damage to them. It is honestly just insane. So what about the DUSKBLADE though? Why would we even bother to build that? So the Ghostblade and Black Cleaver combo is semi-overkill really. We have flat armor pen, which is better earlier, and percentage is better later. Black Cleaver is a little bit different because it's total armor, but still more effective as the game goes later. The DUSKBLADE has a huge amount of AD and armor pen as well, and because you're a burst build with this, the passive actually does decent amount of damage as well. If you use your ultimate and your Q first and then you auto to apply the passive, that'll already be pretty low, and it's a percentage of their missing health, remember. Basically, DUSKBLADE in the middle of these two items just makes your early to mid game even stronger. Then we get the Black Cleaver after, which keeps ramping you up. Surprisingly, it actually does make sense. It's like another version of Ghostblade, so your 2 item is stronger, 3 item is still really good. I did a lot of research for this video. I also tested this build a lot, and the funny thing is with this build, most games end before you even get to 4 or 5 items. You do so much damage. Your ultimate is able to kill people from pretty much full health, and it's ridiculous. Your Q crit will half health the enemy AD. I don't really want to repeat myself from my Korean Lucian build video, so I'm not going to go as ham into the numbers of the build, but I do want to show you the actual difference. So Ghostblade is the same AD, same cooldown reduction, but you get 20 armor pen and the active 40% attack speed and 20% move speed for 6 seconds. With Essence Reaver, instead of that extra stuff, you'd get the 20% crit CDR from crit in future and the mana passive. This already shows you Ghostblade is massively better in lane. The armor pen and attack speed make a huge difference, so that's why it's going to work here. Comparing 2 items though is where it gets really interesting though. So the standard Essence Reaver Infinity Edge build is 130 AD, 40% crit, 20% CDR, and crits are increased by 50%, plus you have the mana. The problem, as we said, is you have no armor pen. You only have 40% crit as well, so you're going to need to build more crit to really use the Infinity Edge. That means no armor pen until 4th. Ghostblade and Black Cleaver, 115 AD, 30% CDR, 45% attack speed active. Then we have the 300 health, 20 armor pen, and 30% total total armor reduction. So slightly less AD, right, but loads of armor pen, which more than makes up for it. More cooldown reduction, attack speed, and health. But honestly, armor pen is the biggest thing though. That might be actually pretty obvious with how much I've said that this video. So let's look at Ghostblade and Duskblade, alright? 140 AD, 10% cooldown reduction, 30 armor pen, 5 flat move speed, and the Nightfall passives, which is 90 plus 25% of your missing health. Then we actually have the active as well, 40% attack speed and 20% move speed. So actually this is more AD than any of the others. More flat armor pen than the second as well, though it is less percentage. This is why it's such a good 2-item power spike. More AD, more armor pen to make your ultimate hurt even more, and we'll get that total percentage reduction third. Tanks should honestly only have 1, maybe 2 armor items mid game, so 30 armor pen is decent enough. The percentage is really going to kick in when there are 2 or more, and that's why we should have Black Cleaver as well. So hopefully that kind of shows you exactly why it's so good right now and so much damage. Now we're really going to get into the entire build though, then how to play her and use her properly. I'll cover this build really quickly because it's the standard, least risky, I guess. I don't think it's as good, but anyway, Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon or Phantom Dancer, Last Whisper, and Bloodthirster. The Korean Lucian build, Ghostblade and Black Cleaver, most well-rounded I guess. They're kind of less risky than the Duskblade, but less reward as well. For the component side of things, you always want to get the Dirk first because it's armor pen and then Warhammer, and for the Black Cleaver, you want to get the Phage into Warhammer. So after that, we really have 2 options, Infinity Edge or either Rapid Fire Cannon or Phantom Dancer. So Infinity Edge is more ultimate damage, you crit, more AD as well, but one of the attack speed items means you're going to attack more, funnily enough, and you're going to be using the armor pen and the AD you already have. Rapid Fire Cannon is a long range auto that hurts. Phantom Dancer is good against divers like Irelia, things like that. Basically though, Infinity Edge plus attack speed items should be the next 2. Either one first doesn't matter, just so we get that ultimate critting. The last item can either be a Last Whisper against 3+ armor item tanks, or Bloodthirster, or a defensive item. So let's get on to the last one with a Duskblade. The Ghostblade part is going to be the same as before, Dirk then Warhammer really for the armor penetration. The Duskblade depends on what you think is better, 20 AD or 10 armor pen. Now in my opinion, I think the AD is better, but it is more expensive at 1300. So if you can't afford that, then start to build the Dirk. It doesn't really matter too much. Third item, as we said, is Black Cleaver, but then we have a lot of choices after. So we have 2 slots left, and this is where it gets a little bit harder to decide. 3 item wise, I think this build is insane, but then it's kind of a bit of a mismatch. So Infinity Edge is more ultimate damage, as we said, more AD and crit, but we also need to build some more crit strike if we're going to get that, same as the previous build. So if you build either Phantom Dancer or Infinity Edge, you kind of need both. Bloodthirster is just more AD, flat AD, so it makes your ultimate hurt more, and you get some much needed lifesteal as well. Last Whisper actually seems like overkill, right? Because we have so much armor pen already, but actually math wise, it's still worthwhile if you're against a tank with 3 or more armor items. With 2 or less, it's not worth it. Defense is kind of lame, as always in Season 6 on an AD carry. 75% of your damage is from your ultimate anyway, so you can kind of stay back and stay safe. If the game goes tits up and there's a really fed assassin like a Fizz or a Zed or something, just get a Guardian Angel. For keystone wise, we want to get further. No more Thunderlord's cheese, thank god. Runes is actually standard, but with AD quints. Most people don't go attack speed, it's not really worth. You're playing for your Q damage in lane and your ultimate damage in fights. Now let's go on to how to play her. So in the lane phase, you're basically playing around your Q damage. Fancy doing half the enemy AD's health in 1 Q? No problem, we got that covered with this build. Your ultimate is disgusting, you do so much damage, and also with the love tap passive, the AD ratio seriously hurts. If you weren't sure how the love tap passive actually works, if you attack a target that you weren't attacking previously, so like a new target, you're switching targets, you do bonus damage. Your W is really good for short trades as well. Ideally, actually, when you have your Ghostblade, you want to activate Ghostblade first, then W after, or both together, I guess, for an insane 6 seconds, if you think you can kill them within that time frame. Basically, it's a very similar lane phase to normal. We're just upgrading everything and doing more damage. You use your range and love tap to trade, you use your Q when you can. There isn't really too many downsides except her low mobility. The 2-item Duskblade is insane, by the way, versus a low health target. You can seriously so easily burst them down with that Nightfall passive. Now team fights, this is where it's actually really complicated. I'm just kidding, by the way. You basically press R, your ultimate is 75% of your damage in this build at least. You have a really heavy AD ratio, you have armor pen, and it basically just means a dead enemy team. It's very important though to use it correctly and get as many people as you can. You're not actually the best versus tanks, honestly. It's kind of better to hang back, let them focus on your team a bit, and then you unload your ultimate. Okay, it's a bit more complicated than that. You're not the best versus tanks with Duskblade until you get the Black Cleaver. You are decent actually like damage wise, but you want to use your ultimate first, and it's hard to hit your ult on them when they're right in your face. Now with Black Cleaver as well, you can actually start to alter them down, so it's not that bad at all. Remember as well, it's not just about your damage, okay? Black Cleaver reduction increases your team damage by a ton. So if you hit all 5 people on the enemy team with your ultimate, that's a 30% reduction on all of them, or a 30% increased damage to your team. Is so overpowered. So that was pretty in depth for a build video, but I wanted to give you everything you need to play her and use this build. Now remember to like, subscribe, comment and share if you enjoyed this video, but that's for all for now, so let's go to the robots.